Good morning from Andover, Kansas. I'm meteorologist Mike Seidel. A strong tornado hit here last night just before sundown. Fortunately, no fatalities, 2 minor injuries, and Charles Peak is here, as I affectionately refer to you as Charles Drone. That's okay. And what we're going to show you now, you've probably heard about the YMCA, and there were kids and families in there. Everybody's fine because they went to the safe area. But this is drone video. First, a car, which is well outside the building. What do you think? It got picked up and just dropped there.
Looks like a lot of damage to it for sure.
Yeah, to that car. Now we're going to go over and show you what we've seen quite a bit in media and on the ground from last night, some of the video, some of the pictures, and you can see the damage of the YMCA.
I don't think this is the Y.
That's part of the...
Is it part of the Y?
I think that's part of the Y. Yeah, that's also part of the Y over there as far as I know. Is that what it says? Or is that the school? I was told that was part of the Y, but anyway, you can see the damage there around the corner, more cars, quite a bit of roof damage. So, again, the water comes in, you've got the water damage, but fortunately, I don't know about here, but the rainfall was not prolific. Yes, that is the front of the YMCA right there. And again, just amazing that nobody was killed or seriously injured there or anywhere in Andover, considering what happened here on April 26, 1991 with the F-3. Just went through another anniversary, and 17 were killed, 13 in a mobile home. That F-3 that day in late April, 31 years ago. So looking into the YMCA, into the kind of the bowels of the building, and boy, just a lot of damage and a lot of that roof coming off. National Weather Service will be back out here. They'll get out here. We have not seen them come by here. We would likely see them in a government car, but we haven't seen anybody. But I'm sure they'll be out here in the short term. And typically we get at least a preliminary rating on this twister by the end of the day, and we'll see what happens. But looking at the damage, seeing the roofs, brick walls down, and also talking to our fellow meteorologist, it's got to be at least a low-end EF-3 tornado. We'll see how the Weather Service calls it. And also, Charles, you mentioned that at the press conference they said that you go farther northeast. The tornado came in this direction, that there's homes just wiped away.
Yeah, the fire chief was telling me it felt like it got a little stronger as it moved northeast, and there was some of the homes completely slabbed, and then it moved out into the county area and also did some significant damage there as well.
Yeah, and it's also a function of the construction. Was it a manufactured home? If a brick wall comes down, that's automatically an EF-3, sometimes an EF-4 if it's a solid brick building.
I did see something on Twitter, Storm Chaser posted where some the anchor bolts were bent and everything, usually an indicator of a little stronger tornado.
Exactly, yes.
So obviously the National Weather Service will figure that out.
And you can see behind us, this is the subdivision we've been talking about. We were in there earlier, but the media had to leave. Residents are in there. We've seen there's a piece of heavy equipment in there. We've seen a crane in there. So they're starting the major cleanup. Unfortunately, this subdivision, all the power, all the electricity, the lines are buried, they're underground. So we don't have to worry about getting power crews in here and getting the power back up and on. So that's the saving grace of some of the newer subdivisions when the power is buried. We've got more aftermath coverage, and yes, more severe weather early next week in some of these same spots. Stay with us on the Weather Channel.
We do have Weather Channel meteorologist Mike Seidel. He's in Andover, Kansas. He's been coming to us live from there this morning. And Mike, you know, in your years, you've covered much tornado damage. What is it like on the ground there in Andover?
Well, certainly the families are picking up the pieces. We saw one homeowner trying to find personal belongings. We saw another family come out. They were trying to find a backpack. We can take a look across the street at the subdivision from the back, and you can see, first they're cleaning up all the trees, all these hardwoods that were blown down by the twister, which came from across the street and then came towards the camera and then went over towards the YMCA, then out to more rural areas. But just trying to pick up the pieces. Heavy equipment's in there right now. But as you mentioned, the amazing and great news is no one was killed and just 2 minor injuries in this area. And, you know, thinking back to 1991, that F-3 that killed 17, 13 in a mobile home park. So very, very fortunate. Of course, the warning system is moved forward. We've got the NEXRAD radars. So the Weather Service in Wichita, along with the Storm Prediction Center, they put out the watch about 3:30 yesterday. This tornado hit a little after 8, just before sundown. And we can show you another video. There's all these videos out there on social of this twister coming through Wichita into Andover. We're on the east side of Wichita, and you can see it's picking up debris. We had power flashes, roofs in the air, and this is what's left behind this morning. Hey, let's go back upstairs. Charles Peak has got his drone up here across from the elementary school, which got hit. And the Y is just around the corner. And now we're looking at damage in the subdivision. Charles, what are we looking at right now? We are seeing some of the roofs off houses, cars flipped. Saw a couple of homes, Charles, where cars were between the homes, and you get a sense of, looks like the house kind of just imploded from this twister.
This looks like it's sitting maybe in the living room of where the house was.
Yes, look at that. And you got to figure this is at least EF-3 damage. Weather Service is going to be out here. They may be out here. We have not seen them, but they may be looking at the damage right now. But obviously, this is pretty substantial. As we say, lives can be replaced, homes can be rebuilt. No fatalities, 2 minor injuries, and you get a sense of this twister that whipped through here. I think it was moving east at about 30 to 35 miles an hour at the time, and it was warned, plenty of advance warning. When you put a watch out more than 4 hours before the twister hits, that's always a good thing. Gives everybody plenty of heads up to know where to go. If they're in a mobile home, get out of there. If they're at home, stay with the Weather Channel, get your warning, and have your safe place ready. So, Paul and Felicia, you know, the homes, they'll be rebuilt. But to look at this and to see the drone video and the fact that only 2 minor injuries, that's just amazing. Goes to the proficiency of the Weather Service here, Wichita, the Storm Prediction Center, and also the fact that the homeowners heeded these warnings and did the right thing. They didn't go outside and try to, you know, video the tornado. They got to safety. Some of these houses have daylight basements.
Yeah, it's great to see there, Mike. And, you know, there's never a good time to have a tornado, but the time that these went through were probably the best time you could have that. We're talking, we had the watch out.
Welcome back to Andover, Kansas, site of last night's tornado. It came through here right before sunset, a little after 8 o'clock. The watch came out about 4.5 hours earlier. They had a warning. And with all the damage you see behind me and the damage we're going to show you via Charles Peak's drone, nobody was killed, only 2 minor injuries. Right now, they've been cleaning up the street here. All these hardwoods that were blown down by the tornado, it came from this direction, basically from west to east, at about 30, 35 miles an hour, a little after 8 p.m. Central Time. And you can see all the houses that have been damaged. Some of these are just going to have to be torn down, even though they're still standing. Let's go to Charles Peak now. He's got his drone up. Charles, what are we seeing right now as far as... Now, you showed me an area beyond what we're seeing here with that car. Can we get back over there? This is a little farther upstream and got hit just seconds earlier from the twister. Remember, this happens in less than a minute. Everybody you talk to, you go through this, you know, it's moving 30 miles an hour, and say it's a quarter mile wide or even less than that, even say 300 yards wide. It doesn't take long before it's in and out of there. You've probably seen that on video, but look at that house. And the cars flipped over, cars in houses, and just the destruction there. And it's really hard to believe that nobody was seriously injured, and let alone no fatalities. Is that the car we're looking at right there? It's upside down there on the edge of the driveway here in Andover. Andover, certainly they have a checkered past. 1991, April 26th, so just a couple of days after the 31st anniversary, the Andover EF-5 rather, that killed 13 at a mobile home park, 17 overall. That was a rough stretch there late April, 31 years ago. So the damage is widespread. A lot of these houses, again, are going to have to be bulldozed. They're beyond repair. But again, these could be replaced. Lives could not be replaced here in Andover. We had other tornadoes. About a dozen tornadoes touched down across parts of Kansas and Nebraska. We also had straight line wind gusts to nearly 80 miles an hour. So a lot of action yesterday. Wind damage reports just under 100 as far as filter reports. We'll go back to Paul and Felicia in the
Was. Now, of course, we have a meteorologist on site there, the Weather Channel's Mike Seidel. He's in Andover, Kansas. He's joining us live now. He's been there all morning. And, Mike, we can see just the sheer destruction behind you.
Yes, and the cleanup continues here on the street. We've got this amazing giant claw machine now. I think he's pretty much filled up his truck. I don't know, let's see if he brings it back out. It's kind of like one of those machines you see at arcades where you drop the claw and try to win a prize. Yes, he's filled up the truck, but he made quick work of this pile of hardwood here. The Bobcat is dumping the hardwood. He'll come back and get another load here through the afternoon to get this street open. It was just on one side of the street. Behind that, better view now of these homes that were hit by this twister. The twister was coming towards the camera, basically from west to east at about 30 to 35 miles an hour. Yes, it was warned. The watch came out about 3.5 hours before the twister hit, which was just after 8 p.m. last night here in Andover, just off to the east of Wichita. And you look at all the damage. Here's some video from inside the subdivision from earlier, and you can see cars flipped, cars on top of houses, cars in between houses, and roofs are gone. Some of these houses will have to be just demolished. Some can be repaired, but remember, water damage, although we didn't have a lot of rain with this particular tornado as it moved through last night a little after 8 o'clock. The other thing we'll notice, too, with these homes is that despite the damage and despite how bad it looks, there were no fatalities. Everybody got to their safe place. Some of these places have basements, some have daylight basements, but everybody, even the pets, they're fine. A couple of minor injuries, and that was it. And even on the other side, about a quarter mile from here, I'm looking at the YMCA, and even there, with all the families in there and kids, nobody was injured. Everybody took the warning, got to the safe place, and that's what saves lives. And that, thank goodness. And we have to give certainly a shout out to the National Weather Service in Wichita for getting the warnings out. Also the Weather Service in Topeka, Hastings, Nebraska, and Goodland. All those offices were very busy with either the tornadoes or even some of these high wind reports in south central Nebraska. We had 4 or 5 I saw last night pushing 80 miles an hour, even behind the front. So that's what they were dealing with, but they were very busy. We were fortunate enough to be in the Weather Service office in Topeka during the height of this severe weather outbreak. So Paul and Felicia, again, the cleanup continues on a bright, sunny, crisp, late April day here in south central Kansas.
All right, thanks, Mike Seidel.